Oh, nice. This guy loves his Obstagoons. My guess is he's running Obstagoon. Oh, Trev. Probably Obstagoon's going to come in here. Obstagoon? What did I say? Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and enjoying the Ultra League rotation. I had a feeling that Walrein was going to be super strong in Ultra League, and that definitely is the case. With the team I've been using, I've been able to climb over 300 elo and also climb the leaderboards quite a bit as well. The team is Gallade with Walrein and Lapras in the back, so pretty much a Gallade and double ice combo. Overall, it's super strong, and despite the many counter users in the meta, it still does quite a bit of work. So in this very first battle, I'm actually going to showcase how this team beat a triple counter team. Also, if you're wondering if any of these mons should be Shadow, I personally prefer Gallade on this team to be non-Shadow because you need a little bit of bulk against a lot of those fighters and counter users you'll see. Both Walrein and Lapras can be solid Shadow contenders. I just don't have any of those two made for Ultra League. Also, if you're looking to pass some time while you're out on the grind or commuting to work and such, feel free to check out my new podcast called The Sinister Aglets. It's on all major podcast platforms, and you might enjoy it. Before I get into battles, a big shout out and thank you to all my patrons who've been supporting my content creation. If you would also like to have early access to my strategies and lineups, or see behind the scenes footage of my battles, feel free to sign up in the Patreon link down below. So, like I mentioned, going into a triple counter team. Obviously, the lead matchup is at least a little bit positive. Otherwise, this would be a really tough matchup in general. I am going to bait with a Leap Blade here. I do grab a shield because that close combo would do a lot of damage. And now I am going to bring in my Lapras, which does okay against a Scav. I'm going to shield the first potential move, which could have been a Mega Horn, but seeing that they throw their second move pretty quickly, I knew that it was going to be a drill run. And then we are in a good spot here. I do decide to just double shield, just commit to it because I have a really solid matchup against that Toxicroak, and I figured if they shield there, I could just farm down with my Gallade. So my opponent here actually comes in with an Obstagoon, so another counter user, super strong against my backline. I'm going to no shield the Night Slash, only doing neutral, and then get this close combat off. I think we see what's going to happen after this. Toxicroak getting straight, losing almost all of its health with 2 confusions, 2/3 of the health. Sludge Bomb is pretty strong for neutral, but this Walrein just gets his moves very quickly. And then my cat is off, just like how this Toxicroak is off the field of battle. All right, so against a standard Toxicroak lead team, it definitely makes it a little bit easier. Triple counter is very, very tough. But I like to just drop the Leap Blade and then dip here. You either grab a shield or you, do a ton of damage. So they have to go straight Earthquake here, and that's fine. I don't need to go down shields here, so we are on even shields, and I can still line up my Toxicroak, my Gallade against their Toxicroak. I like to usually safe swap the Walrein, but in that specific situation, because I'm counter swapping there, the Walrein is pretty solid, mainly because it has a pretty solid matchup against Toxicroak. Being able to land an Earthquake potentially is really solid, and it ended up working out quite well because there's Trevenant in the back, and Trevenant is, I guess the matchup against Lapras is not bad either because the Ice Shards do add up. I am running Skull Bash on my Lapras instead of Ice Beam though, so I don't really have any moves that go unresisted, but Trev is fairly glassy, so the Surfs do add up as well. My main reasoning for not running Ice Beam and running Skull Bash instead in this meta is because you really need a Skull Bash for opposing Lapras, and especially Walreins. And also Poliwraths, as you can see here, not super common, but they are fairly around just because Walrein is so prevalent in the meta. And been seeing a decent amount of Kanto Mucks too. This Muck is luckily not Shadow, but these Thunder Punches do add up quite a bit. And I go straight for the Earthquake. I figured just go for it, grab a shield, or we win switch here. So kind of a tough backline for my Lapras, because Lapras is not going to do great against both the Scav and the Poliwrath here, but they do swap out here, hoping to potentially catch a move, but I do end up switching out fast enough without throwing the move here. I do shield here. My thought here is I'm going to do a lot of damage with these moves, whether Leaf Blade is not great. It's double resisted, but I figured they're going to have to start shielding eventually here. And so that's what they're going to do here. Going close combat is a little bit riskier. Yeah, and I go for double surf here. I figured they had to throw the moves pretty quickly on the Escav and knew they didn't overcharge by too much because otherwise my Gallade would have gone to close combats. And able to finish off there. And I knew they knew I had a surf, so they knew that they had to throw. I knew they had to throw before I got too much farm down the Gallade. All right. So the mirror matchup, this is always a little bit interesting. It's not really great to swap your Walrein in there. So I'll just stay in here, do as much damage as possible. And then, I don't know about the swap maybe. I do end up shielding, but I get a slight energy lead here, which is okay. And then shields down. This is not great against Ampharos, but shields down, that Earthquake is going to do a lot of damage. And able to one-shot. And then now they come in with a Snorlax here, which I'm totally okay with, because that's actually fairly solid against the Gallade as well, because that Lick super effective damage is really going to add up here. And then we do CMP here, which is quite solid as well. They undercharge. That's fine. I'm going to come in with Lapras, and I actually don't mind that they caught the Gallade here, because now they can't swap out after they debuff themselves with superpowers, and yeah, they just don't have enough energy to do all that, and able to finish it off with Lapras. Gallade, fairly glassy Pokemon in Ultra League, has definitely got a little bit more bulk than Great League. With the bulk of Walrein and Lapras, it tends to pair very well with the backline, in my opinion. I thought about potentially running a Toxicroak in the lead here, but it just loses to Gallades all across the board, so it just didn't seem ideal. Anyway, my opponent does come in here with Obstagoon. Never really had to shield the Night Slashes. You probably had to shield second ones. I'm going to go for... so I went for a bait first, and then now I go for close combat. Leaf Blade is not the worst bait because you still do some damage, but able to get enough energy to safely go close combat for the first time around. And then they come in with their Venu here. Great catch on their Walrein, actually. Pretty common to see other Walreins in the meta, so definitely watch out for them. A lot of anti-fighter leads with something like an Obstagoon and a Walrein in the back. So it's not super uncommon of a team to see here. The really good news about the Walrein mirror is that they rarely could go Icicle Spear against you, so they kind of have to go Earthquake. I decided to swap back over to my Lapras. I don't know if that's the best swap or not, but we shall see. So I am going to get one shot by Frenzy here, but Walrein does get to the moves very, very quickly and able to finish off this Venusaur here. And then the Walrein's very low on HP. All right, let's talk about bad leads. This is a tough lead. And let's talk about bad counter swaps. That's a really tough counter swap. So let's see how my opponent plays this out. Yeah, so I am going to go straight Icicle Spear, and they are going to take me out with Cross Chop. It's fine. I started to throw the Cross Chop right away, but able to get a little bit of energy here, but they are still in a very commanding position, and I'm stuck in that matchup for a little too long, but my switch time was just not up, unfortunately. And they come in with a Blaziken. Not too bad, actually. I mean, you could tank a Surf, and it also does a lot of damage, super effective damage while you're doing resisted. They go straight for the Blast Burn. All right, this is going to be dicey here. Again, not having switch advantage at any point in time, losing every matchup, but with a little bit of energy maneuvering, I believe we could potentially pull this off. Got a little extra confusion through just to make sure I get some extra damage. I unfortunately missed all the bubbles, or some of the bubbles, but ended up working out. Nidoqueen leads, and my opponent top lefts. And I just thought it was a funny clip, but funny enough, it actually would probably save them a lot of time there because I have a Walrein and a Lapras in the back. Nidoqueens are not something that opponents want to run into this team. The whole team beats it, so I think they made the right decision there. All right, Jellicent. Fairly strong against the team. Not something you very see commonly because it's a level 41 Jellicent that's best buddied, but I thought this was an interesting match. I figured I'd include it. You know, funny enough, I actually did make a Jellicent for Ultra League Premier. Best buddied Hundo as well, so I invested a lot of resources into it, and I tried out and just kind of fell flat. Biggest reason really was because of Trevenants, but against a team like mine, that's got play against all three, so it's actually quite solid. I am going to go straight for the close combat here, and they don't know, they know shield because they don't have shields at this point. And they go acid spray here, which is fine. And then now I need to just farm up a lot of energy here. I'm going to tank whatever they have here. It's really the Shadow Ball that's really going to hurt here, so I'm just going to farm all the way down. But let's see what they come in with, and they come with a Scav. I'm just going to throw my Surf just to take it out, not take any counter damage here. Okay, can't really Ice Shroud that thing down. And then here comes the Jellicent. They're probably going to go straight Bubble Beam here, but it is what it is. I know shield, expecting the Bubble Beam. And we are going to keep going Surfs. Lapras super bulky in Ultra League. Jellicent in Premier Classic is not nearly as bulky as Open Ultra or Open Premier. And we end up tying. So, super close battle, super spicy team. Definitely a lot of respect to that trainer for being creative there. Swampert. Been seeing a lot of Swamperts lately because I think a lot of triple fire lines have been trending. Surprisingly, I actually haven't gone to triple fire, which is kind of good for me because my team's not particularly great at it. Great against them. But yeah, against a lot of Swamperts, I like to just throw that Leaf Blade and dip out. And usually speaking, actually pretty much every Swampert League team I've seen so far, they always have a Walrein in the back, which is why they don't really swap into a Gallade lead, despite it not being the best matchup here. Run into a little bit of lag here, but I don't think I get the Icicle Spear off either way, so it's not the end of the world. But I do get to try to Confusion this down. Unfortunately, I do get hit by the Icicle Spear. Definitely no shield because those Hydro Cannons do a lot of damage, and they come in with a Charizard. So I go for the close combat here, and then I'm going to shield this because this is Life Play Blast Burn. They have to go Earthquake here with the Swampert, and it's going to do a good chunk of damage. But they pretty much have to go Earthquake again, which is a nice part about Lapras. Probably another reason why I like it over the Shadow variant. But again, I don't have a Shadow Lapras so in Ultra League, so I don't actually know if it's that much worse or better. But yeah, so they go straight for another Earthquake. And because I whittled down the Charizard enough with the close combat earlier, able to go for the Leaf Blade and still take the match. But yeah, definitely props to my opponent for keeping it close with a Swampert into a Gallade lead for sure. All right, Walrein leads, one of my favorites because I like to drop a Leaf Blade and just dip out. There's some times where it's like double fighters in the back. That's really tough. But a lot of times also they're running double fighter counters, such as a Muck, Crobats, maybe their own Gallade, stuff like that. So those situations tend to be good because you grab a shield from them and you swap, and they could drop an Earthquake, or they just, usually lose Switch because they're down a shield too. And I just figured it was safe to go Earthquake there because they already burned a shield, and I could tank an Icicle Spear here, so I'm going to do that. And let's see what they do here. So I do throw a Leaf Blade here. They shield it. I'm going to go straight to my Lapras. 2 shield Lapras. Super, super strong. They do have a Heracross here. It's probably going to be Rock Blast. Not the end of the world. I am going to throw the Surfs here, which are going to do decent chunk for neutral damage against a Heracross. And now they come in Walrein here. I decided no shield. Could be a bait. Ends up being an Earthquake. So because of that, I decide to just keep no shielding here and go straight for the Skull Bash here. Keeping it kind of close. Probably could have made that a little bit easier for myself, but we still had the shield remaining. I knew I could safely get to that Skull Bash without having to shield anything. I knew they couldn't power stun me down, is what I'm saying. All right, Shadow Muck. Shadow Cancel Muck. It's honestly not bad against Gallade, although you do a lot of super effective damage with the Confusion, so most tend to swap out here. I'm going to go straight for the Skull Bash and see what happens. If they shield, great. If they don't shield, that's also solid, but they are going to farm quite a bit of energy off of me with this Muck, and that's going to be a little bit scary for my Gallade, because Gallade does not really appreciate these charge moves too much. I'm going to let the first one go, and it is going to be a Dark Pulse, so it's going to do a good chunk of damage. They come in with their Walrein here, so Shadow Walrein as well as a Shadow Muck. Pretty spicy team. And then I come in with my Walrein. They do have a slight energy lead. I decided to shield just to be safe. If it was got Icicle Spear, I probably would have lost for sure, but shielding the Earthquake definitely coming in clutch here. Now let's see how they want to shield this out. It's potentially another Earthquake, so I decided to shield, and I think it's a good call here. I either caught up on a little bit energy or they overfarmed a little bit, which both are possible. At this point, I don't really mind if they catch a move here, because if they catch a move on the Muck, it's still okay. Probably wish I didn't CMP there so I could farm a little bit extra, but was also a little worried the Muck had a move ready. Didn't seem like they did, or maybe they overfarmed a little bit there. But we go for the Confusion down, and they go for Poison Jab down, so we got another tie too. Super close matchups. Again, very spicy team too. Always I love to see that. All right, Sylveon lead. Pretty bad for Gallade. And they actually swapped to Swampert here. Luckily, it's a Swampert. It wasn't a Walrein, because Walrein catching that would have not been ideal. But catching it on the Swampert is nice. And then I think I'm going to just no-shield this. If it's an Earthquake, I could... Oh, no, I decided to shield. Oh, wow, okay. Well, it was a bad idea. Maybe I should have listened to my future self there. But they were going to go Earthquake here. I tend to shield a lot more early on against Charm teams, because they don't get nearly as many charge moves off. This Hydro Cannon is definitely going to hurt. But I'm going to throw this Leaf Blade. It is decent for neutral damage. They shield, and then luckily I catch what likely is a Psy Shock. Unlikely they go Moonblast against my Gallade. And then now we're in a good spot because we can just farm down this Crobat. Again, I like to shield against Charm teams a little bit more because they don't get as much charge moves off. My guess is the Sylveon will not get another charge move off, so that's why, even though I knew it was a Poison Fang, it's better just to shield it, just to save that extra damage. And if you look at my health, had I not shielded the Poison Fang, my Lapras would have been fainted out by the Sylveon, and I probably would have died with the shield. So, Shadow Magnezone. Very strong against the whole team. Very strong against the Ice Mons in the back. But, even though it's resisted Confusions, and I got debuffed on my attack, Gallade still chunks. And I'm able to grab a shield too, likely going for Wild Charge, which they do. Then now I am able to grab Switch Advantage in all likelihood against this Charizard. They no shield. It's probably a Blast Burn, and that's fine. I'm going to do a lot of damage from Shadow Charizard, but still okay. Let's see what they come in with. They actually come in with a Roserade here. Kind of unexpected, but they probably just didn't want to tank a Surf on their Magnezone. So because of that, I'm coming in with my Walrein. This could be a Leaf Storm, but actually was just a Grass Knot. And then now that I have a lot of energy still saved here, I'm going to just go for the back-to-back Leaf Blades. Unlikely they shield this, and they don't. Now I'm going to go for a Confusion down. And yeah, able to clean it up. Definitely one of the tougher Pokemon to deal with this team, but still a lot of play. All right, Charizard lead. Not great. Surf Edge Counter Swap, also pretty tough. Its moves actually do quite a bit of damage to Gallade as well, so I'm kind of forced to shield some of these Leaf Blades, which is a little unfortunate. But I'm going to shield one of these, and then again, probably go for the close combat against Charizard. It's resisted, but even resisted close combat from a fighter like Gallade is still going to do a good chunk. And I'm going to swap here, and it seems likely there's going to be a Blast Burn, so I'm going to shield. And it's a Melodic. So I'm really glad I shielded the Blast Burn, because the Melodic is not going to have a lot of moves that are super effective against me. It really depends here if they shield my Skull Bash or not, but I kind of want the defense buff because these Dragon Tails start adding up. So good shield by them. And then they do get to another move. These Surfs really do absolutely nothing if you look at the health range on it. But the problem is I need this Lapras for the Charizard. So, and I do swap over. And I was really hoping to Confusion this guy down. Unfortunately, not able to. And hoping to live one more Wing Attack. Not able to. Maybe if it was Fire Spin, I would have been fine. If I lived that, I drop a Leaf Blade. That might have been enough. It would have been close either way. But yeah, a tough one. Maybe there were some win cons if I baited better with my Lapras. But can't beat every team, of course. Crobats. Typically speaking, I tend to safe swap my Walrein, but once in a while I'll safe swap my Lapras. My cat is also going crazy in the background. I'm not sure what she's doing. I think it's the post-poop zoomies that cats get sometimes. Yeah. So, do I end up shielding? I'm not really sure why I shielded Obstagoon here. Probably was not the best play. Might have been one of my earlier games with this team where I'm still trying to figure out matchups. But my opponent does kind of give up Switch Advantage here. But looking back on it, my Walrein has a lot of play against both their backlines, so it kind of worked out for them. And that way they have the Crobat on my Gallade instead of Crobat on my Walrein. So I think it was actually a smart play by my opponent here. We are going to take out the what do you call it? The Sylveon there. I'm going to go straight for the close combat. Again, a lot of damage for Resisted. Able to finish it off still with the confusion, despite Crobat being a solid counter to Gallade, and able to finish off the Obstagoon. And like I said, I climbed a lot with this team. I started off this team in the early 3000s, and I'm finishing the team off in the 3300s. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you also have a great time with this team. It's pretty simple to use in my opinion. You just have to understand some of the matchups and understand some of your energy management, but overall it's pretty straightforward. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like and share, subscribe for future content, hit that notification bell to get alerted right when I post a new video, and I'll talk to y'all next time.